They tell you that honesty is noble, that people will love you for who you are, not for what you show. But the truth is brutal. Human beings don't judge by essence, they judge by sight. In psychology, this is called the halo effect. The brain takes one visible cue and builds an entire story around it. You look strong, you must be competent. You look wealthy, you must be successful. You look poor, then you must be weak, unworthy, disposable. This happens in a fraction of a second, long before anyone listens to your words or measures your heart. Think about allies. They don't stay because of loyalty in some pure sense. They stay because of how you appear. If you look powerful, they cling to you, terrified to lose the benefits of standing close to a rising star. If you look poor, they drift away, no matter how honest, how generous, how hardworking you are. In behavioral economics, we call this status bias. People align themselves with visible winners because it reduces their own sense of risk. Appearance is the signal, not character. The same cruelty rules in love. A man may have a golden heart, but if he appears broken, struggling, forgotten by fortune, he will rarely be chosen. Attraction is filtered through survival instincts. Evolutionary psychology teaches us this. Women historically sought protection and resources because that meant survival for their children. Security doesn't come wrapped in ragged clothes. It comes dressed in symbols of power. That is why a suitor who walks in with composure, elegance, and the illusion of wealth will often win devotion, even if his pockets are empty. While another man, sincere and affectionate, but visibly poor, cannot compete with the subconscious fear of hunger. To look poor in love is to beg for rejection, to invite betrayal, to wear humiliation like a brand. People will not risk themselves on what looks weak. And those who refuse to learn this law condemn themselves to loneliness, or worse, to exploitation. On the other hand, those who master it bend even skeptical hearts. They pull loyalty not with truth, but with the spectacle of strength. You may think rejecting appearances makes you free, that throwing off the mask liberates you from society's chains. But this is a dangerous illusion. The world will not reward your defiance. It will punish it. In social psychology, this is called social proof. When others refuse to endorse you with respect, the group assumes you are worthless. Men who refuse to play the game aren't respected for their authenticity. They are erased. Their voices vanish. Their ambitions rot before they bear fruit. Freedom without power is a cage, and power without appearances, that's impossible. You cannot escape the stage. You can only choose your role, master or fool. The man who looks poor plays the fool. The man who cloaks himself in symbols of wealth, even false ones, plays the master. And men obey the master, while they laugh at the fool. Never forget this. The human eye is a tyrant. It does not wait to discover your truth. It delivers judgment instantly. If you look poor, you've already lost before the conversation begins. If you look rich, even silence carries weight. People lean in, assuming wisdom where there is none. They hesitate to cross you, fearing consequences that may not even exist. Appearances are not ornaments. They are weapons, shields, fortresses. Without them, you are naked, trembling, ready for slaughter. Consider what happens when a man lets himself be seen in rags. He may possess brilliance, hidden wealth, or noble intentions, but the instant the eye registers poverty, judgment falls and cannot be undone. Every word afterward is filtered through that first impression. His promises are doubted, his ideas mocked, his ambitions dismissed. Poverty becomes the lens that distorts everything else. This is why first impressions strike harder than swords. Once cut, the wound lasts forever. In politics, in business, in love, reputation wounds never fully heal. To look poor is to stab yourself before your enemy even draws a blade. Kings understood this instinctively. That is why they paraded in crowns, jewels, banners, armies not for comfort, but for power. The show is the substance. Strip the robes from a king, and he is just another man. Vulnerable, ridiculed, ignored. Without the spectacle, the throne itself crumbles. Because the throne only exists in the minds of people who believe in its grandeur. And this lesson is not only for rulers. Every man who wants to lead, even just a household or a trade, must clothe himself in authority. If you appear poor, you invite rebellion, even from those once loyal. Yet many comfort themselves with lies. If I work hard, if I am sincere, if I tell the truth about my poverty, people will respect me. But sincerity without spectacle is invisible. It is the whisper of a dying man against the roar of a trumpet. No one hears it, and if they do, they despise it, because honesty that exposes weakness is not admired, it is pitied. People do not admire kindness when it shows vulnerability. They admire cunning, they admire strength, they admire wealth, even if it is staged. You may toil endlessly, you may speak with clarity and reason, but if you look poor, your labor will be stolen, your words dismissed, your dignity ignored. The world does not reward effort, it rewards appearances. And the man who refuses to accept this law is condemned to servitude until death. Think about betrayal. Rarely do people betray those who appear powerful. They hesitate, fearing retribution. But when a man looks poor, betrayal strikes fast. A servant steals from the poor master because he knows there will be no punishment. An ally abandons the poor comrade because he expects no retaliation. A wife despises the poor husband because she knows he cannot protect her. Weakness invites treachery, and treachery multiplies when weakness is visible. To look poor is to hang a sign that says, "Betray me without fear." Even in war, appearances decide victory before swords cross. A general whose soldiers look ragged is half defeated already. Enemies sense weakness, allies lose faith, morale collapses. But a general who invests in spectacle, who raises banners, polishes armor, ensures his men look fierce commands, victory through illusion. Even when food is scarce, the appearance of strength fuels courage. The enemy hesitates, the allies rally, the soldiers fight as if possessed. Victory begins in the eyes before it is written on the battlefield. And so it is in life itself. Look poor, and you are defeated before the struggle begins. Look rich, and you can win even with meager resources. Men fight harder for those who appear unconquerable. They abandon those who appear already broken. There are men who rise not through birth or fortune, but through the mastery of disguise. They rent carriages they cannot afford. They wear borrowed garments. They speak with authority they haven't yet earned. And the world, ever gullible, bows to the illusion. Opportunities appear, alliances form, doors open. What was false becomes real. Because people believe so firmly in appearances that they make them real. This is the alchemy of power. To look wealthy is to be treated as wealthy. And to be treated as wealthy is to become wealthy. To look poor is to be treated as poor. And to be treated as poor is to sink deeper into poverty. Illusion feeds reality. Reality feeds illusion. The wise ride the cycle upward. The fool is crushed beneath it. You may cling to the hope that exceptions exist, that genius or virtue might break the law of appearances. But history shows otherwise. Genius without presentation is dismissed as madness. Virtue without spectacle is mistaken for weakness. The saint in rags is mocked, while the charlatan in robes is worshipped. The philosopher in poverty writes in silence, while the impostor in splendor commands disciples. Why? Because people are not moved by truth. They are moved by what they can see and touch. The mind is lazy. It wants shortcuts. Psychologists call this heuristics, snap judgments that bypass deep reasoning. And the most powerful heuristic of all is appearance. People trust their eyes more than their logic, and because of that, they serve the illusion. To look poor is to erase your genius, your virtue, your worth. To look rich is to magnify them even if they do not exist. That is the cruelty of mankind. What is seen always outweighs what is true. And to ignore this cruelty is to sign your own death warrant. There is another danger. Poverty marks you as replaceable. People don't value what seems abundant, and nothing is more abundant than visible poverty. Every street has beggars, every market has desperation, every village has broken men. If you appear like them, you dissolve into the faceless mass. No one remembers you, no one defends you. You become another shadow. But when you carry yourself adorned in symbols of wealth and strength, you force people to notice. You carve your presence into memory. Distinction is power. Appearances are the first and fastest tool of distinction. Without them, you are swallowed in obscurity. With them, you etch yourself into permanence. Even allies will not fight for the man who looks poor. They may share his bread, laugh at his humility, but when the call to battle comes, they stand behind someone who appears chosen by destiny. People want to be associated with triumph, not shame. They tie their fates to images of power, not images of lack. That is why those who look rich attract loyalty, even if they are unworthy, while those who look poor are abandoned in every council, every circle. This same law governs enemies. They attack quickly at the man who looks poor because they sense no risk. He appears defenseless, so they strike without hesitation. And if they show mercy, it is not mercy at all, it is mockery. But against the man who radiates power, enemies pause. They calculate, they hesitate, they wonder what unseen allies or hidden weapons he may hold. That hesitation, that shadow of fear, is often the difference between survival and destruction. Fear protects more than steel, and fear is born from appearances. Even in the marketplace, the pattern repeats. A customer who looks poor is cheated, dismissed, given low quality. A customer who looks rich is courted, offered the best, treated with reverence. The irony? Sometimes, the poor-looking man carries the same coins as the rich-looking one, but merchants don't calculate. They assume, and their assumption becomes fate. This is what behavioral psychologists call confirmation bias. Once the first impression forms, every detail afterward is twisted to confirm it. If they assume weakness, you are dismissed. If they assume power, you are elevated. That is why the man who looks poor is doomed to lose even when he holds everything needed to win. His efforts are invisible. His successes are ignored. His failures are magnified. While the man who looks rich is forgiven, excused, even elevated beyond his actual merit. Such is the tyranny of perception. Do not believe that humility will rescue you. Humility is praised only when wrapped in power. When a king humbles himself, people marvel because he could have chosen grandeur but set it aside. When a poor man humbles himself, people sneer because they know he has no choice. Choice is respected. Compulsion is despised. To look poor is to display forced humility. And nothing forced inspires admiration. If you wish to be admired, cloak yourself first in strength. Only then can humility be seen as virtue. Without that cloak, it is read as weakness, and weakness is spat upon. That is why the wise invest more in appearance than in comfort, more in symbols than in private pleasures. A rich meal eaten in solitude brings only fleeting joy. A fine coat worn in public grants lasting authority. A hidden treasure hoarded in silence keeps you alive. A borrowed jewel displayed in daylight can build you an empire. Appearances magnify every possession, every act, every word. Without them, even wealth shrinks. With them, even poverty swells into influence. The wise understand this. Men obey not what is, but what seems to be. To look poor is to lose the world. To look rich is to bend it. And here lies the tragedy of those who ignore this law. They may work endlessly, speak brilliantly, burn with ambition, but without the mask of wealth, they remain unseen, unheard, unloved. The world does not search for hidden gems. It worships what sparkles on the surface. Those who refuse to shine even falsely are buried alive beneath mediocrity. They die shouting truths no one hears, while fools in glittering masks are crowned with glory. This is the cruelty of appearances, and it is the cruelty you must master, for it will not spare you. The world does not forgive those who look poor. It erases them. A man who looks poor does not simply face neglect. He is condemned to a cycle. Once the world has judged him, it withdraws opportunity. Without opportunity, he cannot rise. Without rising, he cannot alter his appearance. He becomes trapped in the prison of perception. This is why poverty is not just an economic state. It is a sentence passed by society's gaze. It is not hunger alone that destroys him, but the way others treat him because of it. Merchants deny him fair terms. Leaders deny him access. Companions deny him respect. Each denial deepens the pit until even his spirit bends under the weight. To look poor is to live under endless trial, condemned without defense, punished without crime. But some learn to break the cycle. They stage wealth before they possess it. They understand that the mask precedes the man. They rent fine chambers. They cannot afford not to sleep more comfortably, but to be seen differently. They eat meager meals in private, so they can display borrowed splendor in public. They polish every gesture, every word, every garment, until the illusion is flawless. And once the illusion convinces others, power and wealth begin to flow for real. In this way, illusion creates reality. They look rich first, then become rich later. This is the secret too few grasp. You cannot wait for fortune to bless you before you dress like it. You must dress as though fortune has already chosen you. Only then will she be seduced into doing so. Some men protest, but isn't this deception? Isn't it dishonorable to wear what I haven't earned? That question itself reveals weakness. Honor is a luxury of the powerful. The powerless have no honor, only excuses. History doesn't remember who dressed above their means. History remembers who won. If a borrowed image buys you survival, you are not a deceiver, you are a strategist. Appearances are not lies, they are weapons. To refuse them is not honesty, it is surrender. Psychologists studying dominance hierarchies describe something called signal theory. Every species sends signals, colors, sounds, displays that exaggerate strength to deter rivals and attract mates. The peacock's feathers are not useful for fighting, but they signal vitality. The lion's mane makes him look larger than the island. In the same way, human clothing, posture, possessions, these are signals. To look poor is to send the wrong signal. You announce, unconsciously, I am weak, I am unsafe to follow, I am easy to dominate, and every mind around you responds with disdain, even if they cannot articulate why. The tragedy is that many men, especially in modern society, cling to the illusion that authenticity is enough. They post online, declaring they don't care how others see them. They wear rags, call it freedom, and convince themselves the world should look deeper. But the world will not. The world has no time. We are wired to judge in milliseconds, not minutes. Neurobiology proves it. The amygdala fires before the prefrontal cortex engages. Your survival circuits decide, friend or foe, long before rational thought begins. To look poor is to trigger danger signals in the brain of every observer. They may smile, but beneath the smile is distrust. That distrust poisons everything. Negotiations collapse before they begin. Romances die in their first spark. Friendships never deepen beyond politeness. And the poor man, bewildered, asks, why does no one believe in me? The answer is simple, because their brains were trained by evolution not to. You cannot fight millions of years of wiring with good intentions. You must fight with appearances. Consider the workplace. Two men present the same idea. One wears a sharp suit, speaks with measured cadence, projects confidence. The other looks disheveled, anxious, underdressed. The idea is identical, but the first man is hailed as visionary. The second is ignored. Why? Because of authority bias. Humans equate visible polish with competence. Authority is not granted, it is perceived, and perception begins at sight. This is why so many men with mediocre substance but excellent presentation rise to the top. Meanwhile, countless geniuses remain buried because they insisted on being judged by truth alone. They never understood that truth without spectacle is invisible. Even love itself is subject to this bias. A man who appears rich is granted patience. His flaws are softened, his mistakes forgiven, his absence explained away. He must be busy, she says. But when a man who looks poor falters, every flaw is magnified. He's lazy, he's hopeless, he'll never change. Same actions, different appearances, two fates. Women are not to blame. They are following instincts older than language. Attraction is not just about the heart, it is about survival. Looking poor signals risk, looking rich signals safety. These instincts cannot be reasoned away, only leveraged. A wise man does not complain about unfair instincts, he bends them to his will. But here is the darkest truth. Appearances do not just shape how others see you, they shape how you see yourself. Wear poverty long enough, and you begin to believe you are unworthy. Neuroplasticity ensures this: your brain rewires according to repeated experience. If every mirror, every glance from others reflects weakness back at you, you start to accept that weakness as your identity. You stop aiming high, you censor your own ambitions, you sabotage yourself before the world has a chance to. This is why appearances are not shallow, they are foundational. They program the feedback loops of your life. The poor-looking man receives fewer chances, which erodes his confidence, which makes him look even poorer, which loses him more chances. Downward spiral. The rich-looking man receives more chances, which boosts his confidence, which makes him look even richer, which earns him more opportunities. Upward spiral. Life is not fair. It never has been. The world does not ask whether you deserve appearances. It demands that you wield them. Refuse, and you will be erased. Accept, and you can carve destiny from illusion. Philosophers may argue that this is a betrayal of essence, that the self must be authentic, pure, stripped of masks. But authenticity without power is suicide. Even Nietzsche warned that life itself is will to power, not will to truth. Power first, truth second. A mask that grants power is more authentic to your destiny than a bare face that earns nothing. And yet, some cling to ideals. If I am patient, the world will recognize my real worth. The world has no time to search for hidden worth. The world rewards what it sees. And what it sees becomes what it believes. You may be a diamond buried in mud, but no one will dig for you. You will rot in the earth, while glass dressed in gold is paraded as treasure. This is not justice. It is human nature. The wise do not curse nature. They harness it. They do not rage at the halo effect. They exploit it. They do not deny social proof. They manufacture it. They do not wait for confirmation bias. They design it. To look rich is to command the biases of others in your favor. To look poor is to let those biases destroy you. Even spirituality is not immune. A preacher who appears impoverished, ragged, uncertain, will rarely be followed. But one who dresses in fine robes, stands tall, speaks with thunder, his words are received as divine. Do you think faith is so pure? Faith is also filtered through perception. Appearances sanctify, appearances corrupt, and those who master them can move souls as easily as coins. Do not confuse this with materialism. It is not about greed, it is about survival. Looking rich does not mean worshiping wealth. It means wielding the psychology of wealth as a weapon. It means understanding that in a world of shortcuts, you must be the shortcut people choose. Because in the end, men are not judged by their inner light, they are judged by the shadows they cast. To look poor is to cast no shadow. To look rich is to cast one so large that even the sun bends around it. And in that shadow, power grows. Now you understand the cruelty of the law. To look poor is not simply to lack money, it is to forfeit power in every arena: politics, business, romance, even friendship. Poverty of appearance is a death sentence long before physical poverty arrives. It poisons opportunity, undermines loyalty, invites betrayal, erases dignity. And yet, there is liberation in this knowledge, because once you see the mechanism, you can master it. You can stop waiting for reality to change before you change how you appear. You can reverse the cycle. Appearances are not fixed. They are choices. Every garment, every word, every gesture is a tool. The mask you choose becomes the life you live. Society thrives on illusions. This does not mean you must become false. It means you must become strategic. Even authenticity is only respected when dressed in spectacle. Do you want to be heard? Then, build the stage before you speak. Do you want to be loved? Then appear strong enough to be worth loving. Do you want loyalty? Then look like a man others cannot afford to betray. This is why ancient rulers never appeared without ceremony. Their power was not only in armies, but in robes, crowns, rituals, and thrones. Without spectacle, even their soldiers might forget their authority. With spectacle, entire nations bowed. You too must build your own throne, whatever its scale. If you want to rule a company, a household, or even your own destiny, the law is the same. Look poor, and you will be trampled. Look rich, and you will command. The choice is not moral, it is existential. Some will accuse you of manipulation. They will call you shallow. But notice carefully, these same critics bow before the man who looks wealthy. They are not immune, they are simply bitter. They hate that they are governed by appearances, but they cannot escape. They too will respect you more if you play the game well. Hypocrisy is irrelevant, results are not. And here is where philosophy meets psychology. The self is not a static core waiting to be discovered. The self is performed into existence. Neuroscience tells us identity is plastic. It changes according to repetition and environment. If you perform power long enough, you become powerful. If you perform wealth long enough, you become wealthy. The mask fuses with the face. This is why appearance is not just external. It is internal transformation. To look rich is not merely to trick others, it is to rewire your own brain, to train yourself into confidence, ambition, charisma, to carve a new destiny through the theater of life. The stage is not fake. The stage is the birthplace of reality. So never again tell yourself that appearances don't matter, that you will be seen for who you really are. That is the lie of the weak, the comfort of the poor, the lullaby of those who never rise. The world will not see you until you force it to. The world will not respect you until you appear worthy of respect. The world will not reward you until you dress in the symbols of reward. Do not mistake this for material obsession. It is not about drowning in luxury. It is about mastering the psychology of perception. You do not need gold to appear golden. You need strategy, precision, discipline. Every detail of your appearance must whisper power, even if you have none yet, because once they believe, you will not need to pretend. The illusion will have become reality. So the choice stands before you. Remain bare, honest, poor-looking, waiting for a world that will never notice or forge your image. Wield appearances as weapons and command your destiny. Never forget this law. To look poor is to be poor. To look rich is to begin the path to becoming rich. Illusion is the father of reality. And in the theater of life, only those who understand the stage are ever allowed to write the script.